Welcome back to Curious Minds. Today's episode is all about yawning, a behavior so ordinary we hardly think about it. But what if I told you this simple act hides layers of fascinating science?
That's right. Yawning is something everyone does, regardless of age or culture. In fact, the average person yawns 5 to 10 times a day, making it a universal human experience. But the reasons for it are surprisingly complex.
Exactly. Most people just assume yawning means you're tired, but researchers have uncovered a host of triggers and potential functions. Let's start by breaking down what a yawn actually is.
A yawn is an involuntary reflex involving a wide opening of the mouth, a deep inhalation, and a slow exhalation. The whole process takes about 6 seconds, and interestingly, it doesn't just happen when we're sleepy.
Let's dive deeper into the mechanics. What's physically happening during a yawn, and why does it often feel so satisfying?
During a yawn, the jaw stretches, which increases blood flow to the neck, face, and head. The deep breath draws air into the lungs, while facial muscles contract. This combination stimulates nerves, creating that signature sense of relief.
So it's not just about opening your mouth, it's a coordinated, full-body event. I've read that stretching the jaw can also activate the carotid artery, temporarily boosting brain blood flow. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. That increased circulation might play a role in why people sometimes feel more alert after a big yawn. And as we'll discuss next, that ties into several theories about why we yawn in the first place.
One of the most intriguing ideas is that yawning helps cool the brain. Can you walk us through this theory?
Sure, just like computers, our brains generate heat during intense activity. The brain cooling hypothesis suggests that yawning acts like a built-in fan. The deep inhalation brings cooler air into the mouth and sinus cavities, while jaw stretching increases blood flow, carrying heat away from the brain.
I love the analogy of a computer's cooling fan. In fact, studies have shown people yawn more in warm environments and less when it's cold. That seems to support the idea that temperature matters.
Exactly. A 2011 study found that participants exposed to higher room temperatures yawned significantly more than those in cooler rooms. It's a compelling piece of evidence for the brain cooling theory, though it may not be the whole story.
That brings us to another popular theory, yawning as a way to boost alertness, especially when we're bored or tired. How does this mechanism work?
The alertness hypothesis suggests yawning acts like a wake-up call for the brain. The deep breath increases oxygen intake, and the stretching motion may trigger a mild spike in heart rate and blood flow. This could provide a temporary boost in mental clarity, helping us focus when attention dips.
That explains why yawning often pops up during long meetings or lectures. It's the body's way of nudging us to stay engaged. There's even evidence that athletes yawn before competitions to prep their brains for action.
Yes, and the fact that yawning isn't limited to sleepy moments suggests it's a versatile tool, not just a sleep signal. The more we study it, the more it seems to serve overlapping purposes.
Now, let's tackle perhaps the strangest aspect, contagious yawning. Why does seeing or hearing about a yawn make us yawn too?
Scientists believe contagious yawning is linked to social bonding and empathy. Studies show we're more likely to catch a yawn from friends or family than from strangers. It's as if our brains are synchronizing, subconsciously signaling that we're in sync emotionally.
It's fascinating that this phenomenon isn't limited to humans. Chimpanzees, dogs, and even some birds exhibit contagious yawning. That suggests a deep evolutionary function.
Exactly. In social animals, synchronized behaviors can strengthen group cohesion. Contagious yawning might have evolved as a nonverbal way to promote empathy and collective awareness.
There's a persistent myth that yawning is just about getting more oxygen. Where did this idea come from, and why doesn't it hold up?
The oxygen theory dates back to the 19th century, when scientists thought yawning compensated for low oxygen or high carbon dioxide in the blood. However, experiments have shown that increasing oxygen in the air doesn't reduce yawning, and CO2 levels don't reliably trigger it.
So, while yawning does involve a deep breath, it's not primarily a respiratory fix. Modern research points to brain function and social factors as more likely explanations.
Exactly. Yawning is less about lung health and more about neural regulation. It's a great example of how intuitive ideas don't always match scientific reality.
Let's circle back to the classic scenario yawning when we're tired. If oxygen isn't the culprit, what's happening in our brains during these moments?
When we're drowsy, brain temperature rises slightly and neural activity slows. Yawning may act as a mini reset, helping to cool the brain and re-engage attention circuits. Think of it like hitting the refresh button on your computer when it's running slow.
That analogy really clarifies things. It suggests yawning is our body's way of fighting off mental sluggishness, not just a sign of exhaustion.
Absolutely. It's a proactive tool to maintain performance, especially during monotonous or fatiguing activities. This is why you might yawn just before a late-night drive or during an all-nighter.
We've mentioned animals a few times. How widespread is yawning across the animal kingdom, and what functions might it serve?
Yawning is seen in mammals, birds, reptiles, and even some fish. While tiredness can trigger yawns, animals also yawn when stressed, stimulated, or transitioning between activities. For example, lions often yawn before a hunt, possibly signaling readiness to the group.
That suggests yawning could serve as a silent communication tool. Are there species where yawning is linked to social hierarchy or aggression?
Yes, in some primates, dominant individuals use yawns to display their teeth, which can signal status or threaten rivals. In dogs, yawning can diffuse tension during social interactions. So, its roles are surprisingly diverse.
Let's address a common question. Is it possible to stop yourself from yawning once the urge hits?
Yawning is a reflex, meaning it's mostly automatic. You can try to suppress it by clenching your jaw or distracting your mind, but the impulse often wins. Interestingly, even talking or hearing about yawning like in this episode can trigger one.
That's the contagious effect in action. Some people even report feeling uncomfortable when they fight off a yawn. Is there any downside to suppressing it repeatedly?
There's no strong evidence that holding in a yawn is harmful, but since it may help regulate brain function, it's better to just let it happen. After all, it's your body's way of keeping you balanced.
As we wrap up, it's clear yawning is more than a sleepy reflex. Are there any major mysteries or open questions scientists are still investigating?
Absolutely. Researchers are still exploring why only certain animals experience contagious yawning, how neurological disorders affect yawning patterns, and whether excessive yawning could be a diagnostic clue for brain conditions like multiple sclerosis.
So, despite all we've learned, there's plenty left to discover. I hope today's discussion gave listeners a new appreciation for this everyday phenomenon.
Definitely. Next time you yawn, remember it's your body's way of tuning up your brain, connecting with others, and keeping you sharp. The mystery and the science continue.